For thousands of years, we have been fascinated by angels. They've inspired our imaginations and helped us to understand the mysteries of the world around us. And today, despite the advances of technology, more people than ever before are stepping forward with remarkable reports of their lives being touched and forever changed by a momentary encounter with an angel. They appear to the innocent and to the faithless. They come as invited guests or against the greatest of odds. They seem to come to people of all religions, all ages, and all races. And today, as always, when they come, they bring inspiration and understanding.
And this angel appeared. Now, not an angel, I guess, as others would see him. And there's no wings. This is an entity. This is a powerful being who is standing there, but he's an angel. I know he's an angel.
No question about it. I do believe in angels, have always believed in angels. What we need to do is realize that we all do have a guardian angel. We have somebody who is silently helping us, but we have to be receptive to that help.
Angels to me have given me a different kind of energy, different kind of thought. And I have discovered, that my goal or my mission is to awaken people to their fullest potential.
I still was afraid to live with the cancer. And I think my angels have helped me with this. I'm no longer afraid to live. I feel that it's a miracle, a very big miracle in my life.
I know that I have a guardian angel. It's not something I went looking for. I didn't try to convince myself that I had an angel when I heard they existed. It just kind of popped up one day and started presenting things to me that I know did not originate from inside of myself.
They're here to support and inspire us. They're here to encourage and love us. They're here to let us know the good news. And the good news is that we are indeed very loved.
The angels we most often speak of are guardian angels, angels assigned to watch over and protect us. They may appear in different forms to different people, sometimes in the touch of a friend, sometimes as a kindness from a stranger, and sometimes as only a voice whispered in our ear.
I had a basic Methodist upbringing, and I believed in God. I believed in trying to do the best I could, but the fact that I actually have an experience that would change your life and affect me in such a way that would increase my spirituality beyond anything I ever had within the organized religious churches, I had no concept there was anything that great out there.
In February of 1989, Sherry Peterson was a travel agent about to embark on a flight from Los Angeles International Airport to Sydney, Australia, with a stopover in Hawaii. Having flown thousands of miles in her life, Sherry had no reason to suspect that Flight 811 would be anything but routine.
There were a lot of unusual incidents that occurred that didn't seem unusual at the time. When I was going to the airport, a friend of mine took me to the gate, and we've been in the airline business together for years. She and I had worked together for years, and all the years we've flown together, we've never walked each other to a gate. She walked me to the gate, told me to have a safe trip, and we looked at each other like, well, why are you doing this? And neither one of us could really, it was just like something we needed to do, but we didn't know why. We got on the airplane in California, and I remember looking at it thinking, this is really an old airplane. And on the back of my mind, with that came, geez, I hope it makes it across the water. I've never, ever thought that before. airplane. I got on the airplane, everyone was boarded, and I had an urge, which I never do, flying a lot, to really look at everyone sitting around me. You know, actually have eye contact. And I remember just looking at them and studying them and thinking how odd it is that I'm going to be with these people for 8 or 10 hours and I'll never probably talk to half of them. It was just this urge to really honor their presence, is the best way I can put it. The flight attendant was walking down the aisle. I was seated on the aisle, and we had eye contact that was very unusual, too. It was a connection where we just looked at each other like, no, I'm here. I even thought then, that's odd. Flight attendants usually don't give you that kind of an eye contact.
Flight attendants, prepare cabin for takeoff and cross-check.
We took off at 1:53 in the morning. I did notice that there were thunderstorms showing up on our radar 100 miles south of Honolulu, so I kept the seatbelt sign on.
As Flight 811 began its ocean crossing, Sherry and her fellow passengers settled in for the second leg of the journey.
I had put my seat back, and I was thinking about taking a sleeping pill for this 8-hour trip, and this thing popped into my mind: don't take a sleeping pill in case there's an emergency. And I thought, where did that come from? And I thought, that's really weird. And I thought, okay, I won't. I've got a book. I'll read it for a while. I put the seat back a little bit, and I loosened my seatbelt. And I heard like someone had leaned over and whispered in my ear, in my right ear,
"Fasten your seatbelt. You're in for the ride of your life."
I fully expected to see a person standing there. It was that loud. And then when I turned around, there was no one there. It startled me. I mean, it was like, what's going on here? And that's when all of a sudden I got this urge to tighten my seatbelt. After I tightened the belt, I became anxious. I thought, what's going to happen? But I, you know, and then the other side of your mind, again, your logical side's going, this is ridiculous. And I thought, oh, for Pete's sake. So I even put the seat back more, and I remember hooking my thumbs into the belt and closing my eyes, which I am so glad I closed my eyes, because what happened next was not pretty. And all of a sudden, it was like some giant hand reached, grabbed my chest, and just absolutely pulled as hard as it could. And all of a sudden, you've got a hole, the people are gone, it's pitch black, and inside the airplane's gone. I mean, that's how quick it was. Yeah, it was the blink of an eye. Yeah, it's the only way to describe it. It was like 1 second they were there, and the next second they were gone.
Initiate emergency procedure.
We knew we had a tremendous emergency going because it threw the airplane up and to the left. I sent our flight engineer down to see what was going on. Came back up, and he said, "Captain, we have a large hole in the right side of the airplane. There are people injured, people missing, and by the way, number 4 engine's on fire." We declared emergency, did a 180 back to Honolulu. We couldn't maintain altitude. So we had our hands full.
We got a hole in the right side of the
Captain Cronin and the crew immediately suspected a bomb, but the actual explosion was due to a faulty cargo door bursting open during ascent. The explosion decompressed the passenger cabin and ripped a hole in the fuselage. 9 passengers sitting immediately in front of Sherry were sucked out to their deaths as the out-of-control 747 plunged toward the ocean.
The very first emotion was disbelief. This can't be happening. It's pitch dark. The wires that have come down are now clicking into each other, so you're sparking in the dark. We could see the engines on fire, and now the plane is heading down. I looked to my right, and the gentleman to my right seat was at about a 30-degree pitch forward. And where his feet would sit on the floor was gone. And so I'm holding onto his arm and looking him in the eye like, don't look down. And my next emotion is, at what point do I let go of this man? And under his seat was the flight attendant that I had the eye contact with. She was pretty distorted and definitely injured, and I grabbed a hold of her because I didn't know what was going to happen to her. And she's looking up at me like, what is going on? There was a flight attendant standing on the aisle, and it was so noisy. She had a megaphone, and she was trying to give us instructions, and the veins on her neck were standing out. She was screaming so loud, and you could hear nothing except the 747 engines, and now we're doing 400 miles an hour, and the wind is now coming in. The couple on the other side were whispering to each other, and I'm sure they were saying their final words to each other, but I was traveling alone. These were the last people I was ever going to see. I'm looking at these people going, these are the last people I'm ever going to have contact with. These are my last experiences on Earth. And this whole flight was 17 minutes, so a lot happened in 17 minutes. I closed my eyes for a minute just to gather myself, and I was trying to say, if there's anybody out there that can hear me in my thoughts, please help me. And in my mind's eye, I saw this hand just swoop out of the clouds, and it was just this big hand and go under the 747 and just bring it down gently. And it surprised me so much.
United at 811, we're coming in.
Now we're on 2 engines, and with that weight, we're coming down like a stone at the rate of 1,500 feet a minute.
He brought the 747 in very high over the runway, and the flight attendants were trying to get us to put our heads down. Of course, I'm going, no way, this is the last thing I'm ever going to see. So I'm sitting there watching us come in. Of course, I'm sitting right by the hole. There were fire engines and rescue crews and ambulances everywhere. They were expecting, of course, 400 people burned or dead. The captain came in. He had it nose down. He brought it down and set it down perfectly. Everybody started applauding, laughing. Yay, we're here. Sigh of relief.
The first time I saw the hole, I couldn't believe it. You know, the size of this hole was large enough to drive an 18-wheeler through. The odds were against us, and only by God's grace were we able to bring that airplane back.
I can't tell you how surprised I were when we landed safely. I'll never forget that when I was on the runway. It was raining in Hawaii, that very soft rain. And I turned back and looked at the airplane, and I just was like, what just happened here? I had to sit down for a minute. I was shaking. I believe the angels had something to do with this. Why they did, that I can't answer. But I just know that I asked for help, I received it, and from that point on, I've discovered a way to enhance the connection, and it's done nothing but enhance my life. I've never seen my angel, but mine comes to me when I get real quiet, and I call it an angel hug, but it's like absolutely a soft, feathery down blanket encircles me in this warmth, and it is absolutely the most loving, tender, unbelievable feeling, and at that point, I know that whatever I'm about to do can't be wrong. I believe they want to be summoned, but I suspect that if there's one helping me or several helping me, that they're available to help everyone if they ask. That airplane ride was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I can't imagine living my life now without this presence, in that it's so comforting to me to know that I'm not alone.
Angels appear to us in moments of imminent peril, but they may also come to heal the sick and the suffering. There are many sacred sites around the world celebrated for their healing powers, and for centuries, millions of people have flocked to these places, hoping that the angels may perform a miracle. But miracles also occur every day, in little-known places, at the hands of ordinary people, through the guidance of angels.
Many healers speak of the experience of having angels present with them when they're doing their healing. And some of these healers actually have seen the angels. Others have reported that clients, patients have had an experience of angelic presence during the treatment.
I think that the angels definitely exist, and I think that they do help people in this earth. And I think that we're seeing a lot more occurrences of this in this day and age, and I'm not quite sure why, but I think that in the future, medical doctors are going to be much more in tune with the patient's spiritual side.
In Atlanta, Georgia, Attelle Deloche calls on the power of angels to help her heal the sick.
I've dealt with almost every kind of illness I think that you can mention. When I am working, the angels are there, my angels who work with me, and the patient who has come to me for help, of course, has his or her angel as well, who is there. And we all work together.
Attell has a long background in spiritual healing. She first discovered her unusual power as a 5-year-old girl.
I remember my mother always having very excruciating back pain. And one day I put my hand on her back when she was hurting, thinking, poor mommy. And much to her surprise, the pain stopped. She probably thought it was a coincidence of some kind. But then after that, whenever her back hurt, she would ask me to put my hand on it, and the pain would always stop.
Attell's healing powers continued to grow as she did. At one point, she taught classes in alternative medicine at Johns Hopkins University. Today, most of her patients come as referrals from medical doctors.
Most of the doctors that I work with now over the years, I first had to help. So once they had the experience themselves, then they would start referring people to me. When I have a patient lying on the table in front of me, I see these angelic hands over my hands, guiding me to the right place on the person's body to heal them. I always see these hands. There are glowing hands. They're always there. They're always there.
One of Attell's most dramatic successes was the case of Alexandra Woodhouse, who came to Attell as a 10-year-old girl with severe vision problems.
Alex was born with bilateral cataracts, and at approximately the age of 3 months, she underwent surgery, a series of surgical operations for both of those cataracts. Because of some related problems, the prognosis at the time was not especially good.
By the time Alex was 10, she had extremely limited blurred vision when her family decided to take her to visit Attell.
The only thing I remember is being on the table, and I remember a sensation kind of magnetic-like around the area of my eyes. Her hands just went around and around and up and down. She's like as if she was moving something physical, but she wasn't. The day after I visited Attell, I went to the eye therapist, and they were blown away at the results. They didn't know that I had been seeing Attell. They wondered what had happened. They didn't really have any medical explanation for it.
In 2 visits, Alex's visual acuity more than doubled. The medical community is at a loss to explain the improvement, but Attell understands the power of angels.
When I'm introduced as a healer, I'm always very quick to say, I don't do the healing. I don't decide whether you're going to get well. That's up to the higher forces, the angelic forces. That's up to the angels.
Experiencing it at that young an age helped me to be more accepting to the fact that, yeah, it's possible to do these things that most people say aren't possible. I do believe in miracles. I do believe in angels.
Healing can come in many different forms. A body may be saved from a terrible disease, a heart may be restored to love and kindness, or a soul may be reminded that the greatest gift we as human beings can receive is life itself.
Not all people are instantly healed of these grand things. Sometimes their diseases don't go away, but they receive a different kind of healing, which sometimes is the healing that they needed. We don't always get what we ask for. We always get something, and sometimes it's better.
In 1991, my doctor told me that I had maybe 3 years to live, which my time's up. You know, I should not be here. In July of 1992, I became so ill that I could no longer work, could not walk. And during that time, while I was in my bed, I was preparing to die. An angel appeared at the side of my bed, and this was very clear. He appeared as a light, but the thing that I remember the most is his wings. His wings were very apparent, and I could hear them. I could hear the wings. And he took my hands and lifted me up, and we flew out of my bed, up through the ceiling. And I don't know where we went. I just remembered the sense of leaving. And it was as if I was dying and being lifted up. That's what I thought had happened, except I didn't. What did happen is I started walking. I was able to function in a normal way. My symptoms started disappearing. Some of them immediately, some of them slowly. I continue to give the appearance of being more and more well. It's difficult for some of my friends who saw me last year to even understand what's happening. It's difficult for my doctors to understand what's happening. They don't want to necessarily give credit to the angel experience. Okay, but something happened. I don't feel that I am cured. All of my blood tests, all of my laboratory tests continue to show evidence of my deteriorating physical condition. But my mental, my spiritual, my whole relationship with living, I think, has really been impacted by the angel visitations. What I find now is instead of spending my time dying, which is what was happening, now I don't spend any time dying. I spend my time living.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light, will continue in a moment.
Come on, come on. You want one?
Surely you jest. One bite and all my composure is lost.
We'd help you find it.
You asked for it.
Well?
Please. I'm reeling from the milk chocolate as it melts in my mouth.
Not in your hand. Or glove.
I'm soaring from the fresh roasted peanuts and bedazzling shell. I'm giddy. You didn't notice?
Notice what? What is she talking about? I don't know, but that is one heavy bowl.
Take nothing casually, not even socks. Hanes Silk Reflections Casual. Now you're dressed to the ankles.
It's twilight. Sunroof's open. We're cruising down the coast highway in my new Bonneville. Yeah? I'm in an evening dress. He looks great. Soft music on the CD. He leans over and says, "This is nice. Dual airbags, traction control, over 200 horsepower. He even knew it was almost 15 grand less than a BMW or Lexus."
So it was love at first sight.
You could say that.
It kills the germs that cause bad breath. It fights plaque and the gum infection gingivitis. It's a new taste, new feeling, new sensation. New Fresh Burst Listerine.
Everyone's talking about low fat, but not everyone's losing weight. My doctor told me that to lose weight, you have to cut both fat and calories. That's why I chose the Ultra Slim Fast plan, and I lost 50 pounds in 6 months. For me, it's the ultimate way to lose weight. Each shake is low in fat, the calories are counted, and nutrition, it's all in there. The plan is easy. A shake for breakfast and lunch, delicious candy bars as snacks, and a sensible dinner. So come on, start Ultra Slim Fast today. For me, it's the ultimate way to lose weight.
Thursday, the lights go out on NBC. It's Blackout Thursday. Blackout! It's comedy in the dark. Blackout. Starting with Mad About You. And you'll never believe how this whole thing starts. Oops. And Lights Out on Friends when Chandler's trapped with a famous supermodel. Oh, right. And the madman spends the blackout busted for looting.
You're sitting on my boa.
And on Seinfeld, will a gymnast make Jerry flip?
I can balance myself in any position.
Plus an all-new ER, NBC Thursday.
Showtime! It's the network premiere of The Addams Family.
Dang, you're a handful.
What would Halloween be without them? The Addams Family, NBC tonight.
There's an old story about a man crossing the desert without food, without water, without hope. He cries out to his guardian angel for help, but none appears. All alone, the man struggles to an oasis and is saved. Angry at the angel for deserting him, he calls out bitterly, "Why did you abandon me? Why were mine the only footprints in the sand? Why weren't your footprints beside mine?" And his angel replies, "There was only one set of footprints because I was carrying you in my arms." Lake Mendota is a glittering jewel on the banks of Madison, Wisconsin. But when winter comes to the Midwest, the lake surface is transformed into a treacherous terrain of snow and ice. As evening fell one bleak February day in 1975, outdoorsman Bill Lindemann set off on a rugged hike across the frozen lake.
I started walking over the lake surface, which is rather rough, wind-blown, drifted, not an even, smooth surface. Snow continued to fall more and more heavily. Finally, at one point, the shore became obscured, and I couldn't tell exactly which direction I'd been going in. I could walk fine, I was upright, I was mobile, I wasn't particularly cold, I was dressed warmly, so I wasn't concerned. I was looking at the drifting pattern of the snow on the surface, so I'd find 3 drifts that had marks or patterns that I could line up, that I could keep in focus. And I would reach the first one, and then I would sight beyond the last one, so I was always moving toward one of those drifts in the same direction. Well, as I walked along further and further, the snow continued to get more and more heavy. The wind picked up, it was blowing and swirling, and finally I couldn't sight beyond what I could see right in front of me. So at that point in time, I knew I was in trouble. Got to a point where I couldn't discern the difference between the falling snow and the ground, and it was a very weird feeling. It was like when I stepped, I couldn't tell that I was stepping on the packed snow. I couldn't see anything. I was totally disoriented. When I looked out, all I saw was falling snow. When I hit an uneven surface in one of the drifts, I fell. I was disoriented. I was dizzy. I couldn't tell if I was vertical, and without taking more than a couple of steps, I fell again. I began this pattern of standing, stepping, falling, fall one side, fall to the other side. I had no sense of my direction. It wasn't just being disoriented or lost. It was, if something doesn't happen to change this, if the storm doesn't clear or something doesn't happen, I'm dead. I'm gonna just crawl on this ice until I'm dead. I guess I recognized at that point how frail life is, how really marginal the fact that we live at all is. And at that point, I totally gave in. I said, hey, look, God, if you're out there, if you have any intention of me surviving this, then you're going to have to do something, because I can't. At that point, I heard a very deep horn, like a foghorn. I had no idea where it came from. And I said, if that was a sign, you're going to have to make this loud and clear, because otherwise I'm not going to get it. I need to know where it came from. And again, I heard this sound, and I locked onto it and remember moving off into the direction it came from. As I began crawling across the ice, I heard a sound kind of like in the back of my head, like when someone sneaks up right behind you and whispers, and it startles you and the hair stands up on your neck and you jump. I heard this voice say, watch out for the breakwater. And I realized the breakwater would have possibly kept the ice from freezing up, and that if I fell into that water, I would probably drown.
Let himself be guided by the mysterious voice, skirting the lethal breakwater and struggling to the bank where he collapsed in a snowdrift.
There was a person who reached out and put his arms around me. He gripped me under the arms in a bear hug, like, get in here, get out of the cold, you dummy, you know, just reached out and felt myself being pulled into the building. Not everyone gets to a point in their lives where they realize that if they maintain absolute control over their lives are going to end immediately. I had to completely give up control of my life, because I knew at that point that if I was the one who was in control, I would have been dead, and that there would have been nothing else. I mean, it was cut and dry.
Bill remembers little from the rest of that night. Only that the man revived him and somehow he found his way home. As the next day dawned, bright and clear, Bill returned to the cabin to thank his rescuer.
The station was closed up. There was a sign on the door that said, closed for the season. I realized that something pretty unusual, unexplainable, miraculous had happened.
There was no sign that anyone had been in the cabin for months.
I believe that I was saved by an angel. If I hadn't believed that guardian angels were real, I wouldn't have asked for help. And if I hadn't asked for help, even if it came, I'm not sure I would have recognized it. You have to come to realize that there's a greater power working in the universe than the one that's just ticking inside your mortal body. And that essentially everyone is part of that greater connection.
And the angel said to the man, there was only one set of footprints because I was carrying you in my arms. In a complicated and sometimes dangerous world, it is reassuring to consider that we are never so lost that our angels cannot find us.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light, will continue in a moment.
These days, anyone can design and build a car with the quality and features you want, and the safety you need. That's easy. We designed and built the all-new 1995 Lumina, so most people can afford it. And that's what makes the new Lumina a genuine Chevrolet.
You're looking at an amazing cleanser so powerful, it's actually penetrating this tough stain right before your eyes. This is Soft Scrub Cleanser, the only liquid with scrubbers plus Clorox bleach. Soft Scrub cleans the toughest stains faster and easier than even the leading scouring powder. Soft Scrub with Clorox bleach, the amazing liquid that out-cleans the powder.
When a delectable Eggo waffle is at stake, there are generally two types of competitors. Type A personalities are tense, plotting how they'll grab the Eggo, pour syrup into each and every square, and devour it. Type B is relaxed, imagining how they'll savor one scrumptious bite after another. Which type is more likely to win that hot, toasty Eggo? Statistically, studies show it's Type C, the speedy, hungry kid type. Delicious Eggo waffles, too delicious to let go.
You're about to enter a new era in television. With this 18-inch RCA satellite dish, you get CD quality sound, 150 channels, and a digital picture so sharp, so real, it raises home theater to a new level. The RCA digital satellite system. Television will never be the same.
It's Saturday, and the Millers are baking Nestle Toll House cookies.
Turn on the oven.
Yes, we turn on the oven.
Daddy, do you even know how to bake Nestle Toll House cookies?
I know to use Nestle Toll House morsels. They're so rich and creamy.
Real rich and creamy.
Bake with rich, creamy morsels to get the world's best-tasting cookie.
From now on, I'm gonna call you Rich and you Creamy. Now, who wants to help me clean up?
I think Creamy does.
Rich, creamy Nestle Toll House morsels. This weekend, make your house a Toll House.
A jealous husband.
I'd do anything not to lose her.
Plans the perfect crime.
He's gonna kill the boyfriend.
Unless Cosby stops him in time. All new Cosby Mysteries, NBC Wednesday.
Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, a public figure but a private woman. A new book shares photographs from her family album. Join Bryant and Katie Monday and see what a difference today makes.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light will return in a moment.
NBC Tuesday on an all-new Wings. They just want to be alone. Then a special Tuesday episode of Friends. And why is an all-new Frasier the most hated man in town?
We're still on the air.
Then John loves her, but can he resist another woman's seduction? All-new Laura Kent, NBC Tuesday.
They say behind every fortune, there's a theft. So who's behind ballot measure 12, the measure to repeal the prevailing wage law? Greedy out-of-state interests. They claim using lower-wage workers and canceling health benefits will save taxpayers money. But the truth is, taxpayers won't see one thin dime in savings. The money will go straight to special interests. The prevailing wage law works. Let's keep it that way. Vote no on 12.
Candidate Linda Smith says she's saying yes to seniors and children.
You know Linda Smith has worked with the elderly and the handicapped most of my life. I've done an awful lot with children and family laws.
But what does the record show? Voting against improved long-term care for seniors, against a living will, against protecting seniors from energy cutoffs in winter, no on school lunches, child safety seats, and family and medical leave. She's not the Linda Smith you thought she was.
A local actress in the new Roseanne movie, Monday at 7:30.
Some people believe that angels appear more often to children because they are more open and more imaginative than adults. But perhaps angels come more often to children because they are the most vulnerable and the most in need of protection.
I came from an abusive home. The abuse was physical. That predominantly on the part of my father. And the abuse occurred over an extended period of time. Many beatings. When I was a little past my 9th birthday, I had been told by my father to clean a rug that was in the basement. Boy, I can picture it. It's so vivid in my memory right now. The rug hanging over a wire in our basement, and there were steel pylons in the basement also. No ceiling to the basement at all. My dad came home that afternoon and went down and put this big handled tennis racket-like thing that I was supposed to beat on this rug and get all this dirt out of it with. And my dad, of course, took a whack at it, and being much larger, much stronger, he got dust out of it that Bob Plummer, the child, was unable to. And so he went to his belt strap one more time, after having tied me to one of the bars. While he was tying me to the bar, and I can remember how I said it, "Please don't let this happen anymore." And this angel appeared. To me as a child, boy, this was an angel. Beautiful, powerful, just an enormous figure standing there. And I said to him, "Make this be the last time." And the belt never hit me. This time, the belt never hit me. He dropped the belt. He started crying, and he ran upstairs.
After this experience, it didn't take long for Bob's guardian angel to once again offer help. The angel's guidance allowed Bob to use his love of music to escape from the abuse.
The next day, when I went to school, my music teacher, and I can still remember her name, Mrs. Habling, she called me into her office, and she said, "Bob, I've arranged an audition for you." And the angel was behind her. I could see him again, and he's standing there, he's just smiling away, but still as big and still as powerful as ever. She says, "Well, if you make it, you won't be going to school here anymore." And they travel all over the world. Boy, somebody has heard me. Well, I went to the audition. I was selected. I spent the next 5 years in the Columbus Boy Choir School, and I was very seldom home. It took me a long time to find out who he was. I didn't know then. I just know I had asked, and the angel had appeared. He said nothing at all, and yet his silence spoke magnitudes. His power filled that basement, and it filled it with just a glorious silence. After that late afternoon in the basement of the house, after the abuse was stopped for that time, my father never touched me again.
When we speak of angels, we most often think of love, compassion, and patience. Not every lesson can be taught softly. There are times when we must face great pain and loss, because that is when our greatest learning occurs.
I was a cop for about 5 years, and the last several years I was on a tactical unit and involved a lot of plainclothes work, some undercover work, and in 1975 our unit was involved in a couple of shootouts in which people were killed. One shootout in particular happened on Good Friday in 1975, and it involved a guy going berserk, and he shot 2 police officers, actually 3 police officers, as they arrived on the scene. There was nothing we could do to get them out of there, because every time an attempt was made, the sniper would start shooting, and by the time it was all over, 2 of them were dead and 1 was a quadriplegic. So I believe that's the day that I totally lost faith, and I turned towards a bottle. Got to the point where I became a daily drunk, and I could no longer function on my job and had to leave. And Within a period of years, I lost everything I had. You know, I lost my home, my wife, family, everything. You know, I lost literally everything I had because of my drinking.
Alan's life continued to spiral downward until he found himself alone and desperately ill with no one to turn to.
I was just in and out of this fever, and I was convinced I was going to die. And I remember thinking that my only regret was that I wouldn't get to see my son anymore. I wanted to see my son one more time. When I really thought I was going to go, I heard this voice say, "Fear not, for I am always with you." And at that point, it felt like a warm liquid rushed through my entire body, and my whole body became totally relaxed, and the fever broke. There was some spirit, whatever it was, that intervened at that point to help me, you know, and that could have been an angel. I don't know what it was. It sounded like a male voice, but I felt a presence, and the fever broke exactly at that point.
Alan slowly began to piece his life back together and even to see a reason, perhaps, for his suffering.
I realized that if I hadn't been through the hell I'd been through, that there's no way I would be where I'm at today. You know, my pain caused me to look within myself, and in that way it was a great teacher, and it's what helped transform me and to look inside me and to cleanse myself and try to become a better human being.
Alan's life work today centers around giving back some of the love that the angels once gave to him.
I've been involved with working with extremely emotionally disturbed kids, and for the last 3 or 4 years working with kids, mainly with a lot of family problems, a lot of social problems, sex abuse, physical abuse, neglect, alcohol and drug abuse. My whole job, in effect, is trying to protect these kids and to advocate for them and try to empower them. They've been hurt all their lives, and that's why our job is so important, to try to help them and love them back to health. You know, it doesn't have to stay crazy out there. It can improve. I couldn't force anyone to believe it, but through my experiences, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that something exists outside of me that helps people. And I believe these are angels.
It is said that at the moment of our birth, we are each assigned a guardian angel whose instructions are, love this child and watch over it. They are essential instructions intended not only for angels, but for people as well.
Coming up next, George Harrison, Evander Holyfield, and Carlos Santana.
How fast can you begin to feel relief from a cold? Depends. How fast can you open a Hall's with vapor action? Hall's vapor action means instant action, only from the halls of medicine.
Chew on this. Down in Austin, the hottest places to eat ribs are the hardest places to brush your teeth. Now chew on this. Chewing Trident with NutraSweet after meals can actually help you fight cavities. So when you can't brush, chew on this. Trident.
I was shocked to learn that most ordinary credit cards charge interest from the moment you buy something, if you carry a balance as little as $1. Thankfully, American Express has introduced a new credit card called the Optima True Grace Card. You get an interest-free grace period on each new purchase, even when you carry a balance. It's a good thing. But don't just throw away your old credit cards. Recycle them. I'm retiling my pool. Apply today and cut your interest charges.
Look, Mom, I made my own breakfast.
Life is a compromise. Fortunately, it's also a cereal.
Orange juice, orange soda, what's the difference?
Life is the wholesome whole grain Quaker Oat cereal that strives to satisfy your parental caretaking needs.
A jelly donut, please, but no milk.
And life is the delicious roasted, toasted, lightly sweet, crispy, crunchy cereal your kids will actually eat.
Look, Mom, and how life's here for breakfast. And this is my lunch.
Life is a compromise. Fortunately, it's also a cereal.
Glass and surface cleaners are okay for lots of surfaces, but when it comes to cleaning glass, Windex is the best. Because only Windex is specially formulated with ammonia D to clean the best and shine the brightest. For a difference just about anyone can appreciate. Windex, the best on glass from S.C. Johnson Wax. Also available in fresh potpourri scent.
Hemorrhoids are a special problem for women. If you've ever had a baby, you know what I mean. But now there's a hemorrhoid medicine made just for women called Hemorrhoid. Aloe-enriched Hemorrhoid is extremely kind to a woman's delicate tissues. Yet it's wonderfully effective. Nothing else you can buy helps stop pain and itch fast and helps shrink swollen tissues and promotes the healing process. No wonder most doctors surveyed would recommend Hemorrhoid's special formula. New Hemorrhoid with the formula made just for women and trusted by doctors.
The year 2192. The Earth is dying. The mission, go beyond the galaxy and find a new home.
We're on the other side of the stars.
A place for hopes. A place for dreams. A place...
Oh, Lord.
Where we are the aliens.
We didn't come this far to stop now.
It's not about friendship.
Mom?
It's about survival.
22 light years for this.
I haven't given up yet, and I know you haven't either.
This November, enter a world light years away, but closer than you think. Earth 2. The adventure begins next Sunday at 7, 6 Central on NBC.
Angel encounters are being reported in greater numbers than ever before, and these sightings represent an increasing interest in our spiritual nature. There are those among us who have studied spiritual matters for many years, and their explorations are helping to introduce the mystery and wonder of angels to all of us. Matthew Fox is a priest and author who writes about his own views on angels and inner spirituality.
Frankly, I don't believe they're angels. I know they're angels. You don't believe something that you've experienced. The fact is that people experience angels, and people always have. It's just understood that there's a spirit world by all religions. Angels, it seems to me, are not divided by Roman Catholic, Anglican, Lutheran, Baptist, Buddhist, or Native American, just as we don't have Anglican rivers and Lutheran sun and Buddhist oceans and Roman Catholic cornfields, so you don't have angels divided.
Why then are we as people so divided?
We're looking for something to fill our hearts with, our souls and hearts. And we've tried consumerism. It doesn't work. You can only drive so many cars and have so many refrigerators and eat so much food. What are we hungry for that we're not getting? And it is an experience of the sacred. Well, Meister Eckhart says, the great 14th century Dominican mystic said, God is at home, it's we who've gone out for a walk. So that's good advice. Return home. Wake up. I love that phrase about get a life, but I change it slightly. Get an inner life.
Diamata grew up as Faye Wright in Salt Lake City, but her path has led her to become the spiritual mentor of thousands, including Robin Williams and George Harrison.
No question about it. I do believe in angels, have always believed in angels. This world is tremendously infinite, and we do need those kinds of help from the beyond, so to speak. I've always felt that I've had a guardian angel. We have devoted 24 hours in the day to the pursuit of material things that have to do with this fleshly form. We feed it, we clothe it, we entertain it, we house it. Can each man in this world not give 15 to 20 minutes a day, pulling his mind away from all of these things, and give that 15 or 20 minutes to just thinking uplifting thoughts, thinking, how can we do good in this world? Doing something that was uplifting to mankind. That's what's needed.
Many of Diamata's students believe she is an angel on earth.
In 1966, after Beatlemania and all the success that we'd had, I still felt like this isn't it. I need something else. And it occurred to me this age-old question about who am I, where have I come from, and where am I going? And so I pursued that, and it led me to India.
George Harrison's spiritual path eventually led him to Diamata.
There had been a lot of use of the word guru, and until it's been abused, actually. But guru means dispeller of darkness. And Diama, she is an angel in herself. She may not like to hear me say that, but the essence, what people think, what is the essence of an angel? It's somebody who's angelic, somebody who has that divinity within themselves. Just the presence within a person like Diamata is what I would call the angelic quality.
Many people are discovering angels. Evander Holyfield is the former world heavyweight boxing champion.
We all have angels, and it's our choice to use these angels or not. I truly believe that some people don't use their angel because they don't think they have an angel. Well, I know that I have an angel because of how my life has been, and I was brought up and to know that my protection is my angel.
Evander discovered the power of spirituality early in life.
You know, growing up in a family of 8 and being the youngest one, not having a father there, and the older I got, you know, I realized that, you know, I got to be an example, you know, what a man's supposed to be. You cannot actually really call yourself a man if you're really not spiritual. Being spiritual is to mean to be strong and not being soft. The spiritual is the strongest thing in this world.
Some people have always lived a creative existence, but experiencing angels can change the expressions and the purpose of that creativity. The legendary guitarist Carlos Santana has stirred people with his music for 3 decades. But his recognition of the presence and the power of angels began many years after his music became his life.
I feel very grateful because I've been doing this since 1955, you know, because my first words in English were like, "Son, mister, 50 cents a song." Well, like most people, the first time I heard about angels is through my mom. But, you know, we've been lied so much about Santa Claus and so many things that it was hard to, like, take that as something that you can lean on. It was like Peter Pan or something.
Although there are references to angels in Santana's music and even on his album covers early in his career, it wasn't until the 80s that he began to study angels in earnest. He soon discovered a new spiritual path for himself and his music.
I started becoming really aware of the angels firsthand around '88. And that's the first one that it made me realize that it wasn't something phony. And the more I read about angels, the more I felt my music was changing. My goal now with music is not the same. It's not just to make people dance. Anybody can do that now. It's like saying anybody can think. We want people to be conscious. Being conscious is different than just thinking.
Today, it seems as if Santana is directly inspired by his connection with the angels.
You go to a place where you don't have to tell your fingers, this finger goes into this string or this bar or this volume or this amplifier. You go to a place where all of a sudden you hear a note that sounds like a flaming arrow. We always say, it's a great joy to be here tonight and the concerts. And we feel very grateful to see you here. And before we start with the sound vibration, we encourage you to look with your heart and not with your mind, so that you will see that we are all completely and absolutely surrounded by angels. And we see them and we feel them dancing, forever dancing in the flesh.
Can't you see them all around us? They're all around us. The spirits dancing all around us.
Angels to me have given me a different kind of energy, different kind of thought, different kind of goals. Food tastes different. My way of wearing clothes is different. I wear more bright colors, and I have discovered, you know, that my goal or my mission is to awaken people to their fullest potential. My tools is sound and color. I do feel like we are making connection with the angel kingdom. Angels are working really hard in our lives for us to wake up and discover other means to complement and enhance life in this planet.
One of the ways Carlos Santana makes that angelic connection and works to better life in the world is through his support of the Mission Cultural Center in San Francisco. Here, local artists are opening the creative floodgates for the children in their community.
Well, this is part of our outreach program to introduce children to the arts here at the center, and through the arts we teach them their culture. What you see here is the angelitos, which is kind of an inspiration. Many of the ancient cultures have little symbolic angels to protect the children, and that kind of symbolizes, you know, to them a sense of protection, someone guarding over them.
The children develop new talents that emerge as they create the angels they see in their imaginations.
Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Okay, so next time a teacher sees a kid imagining something, don't hit him with the eraser over the head. Find out what he's thinking about. Maybe he's thinking of cure for cancer.
But there's more being created here than mere works of art. There are healing energies present that help the children endure the hardships many have experienced throughout their lives.
What did you think about when you were drawing that?
When I was drawing it, I thought about my brother, who I never got to know, because he died, my uncle, and my sister who also died.
And all of us carry a lot of pain. Healing means to be whole and sound. That's my job. I work with sound. So we heal people. I believe in my heart that angels today, what they long for the most is for us to have more compassion. When you do something for the highest good of all people, those are the fingerprints that angels leave behind.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light, will continue in a moment.
Looking good. Facing with your car is a great idea.
Yeah, especially when it's my new Grand Am.
Well, you couldn't take my car. It doesn't have analog brakes or an airbag.
Or 150 horsepower. Your car couldn't keep up with me.
Man, this engine is really smooth.
What?
I said you're really starting to move.
Hey, where are you?
So I did some checking, and I found out $2.99 is really the same thing as $3, except it's a penny less. So some burger joint's got a meal cost $2.99.
big whoop. Who cares if it's only $2.99 if I'm not going to like eating it? But if you make it taste good, you know, like a Whopper. Flame broiled, not fried. Maybe throw in some fries and a drink. I'll gladly pay you $2.99. Hey, I'd even go as high as $3.02.
Burger King. Get your burger's worth.
Let's see. Kmart's got low prices on things I use every day. I like that. Plus, great sales that make low prices even lower. Now, I like that. But is that enough for us, the demanding public? No! We want something extra! And Kmart has extras. They're new. Extra values, extra low prices, extras here, extras there. I like that. So I'm going back to Kmart for a few extra things. A few extra time.
There's hair, and there's hair with style. To get it, you need the right elements. Salon Selectives, a newly redesigned system of interlocking formulas. Elements you put together for the personalized level of cleaning, conditioning, and finish your hair needs. For style you build in, step by step by step, to go beyond hair that's just there to hair with style. Salon Selectives, the elements of style.
ER, the show everybody's talking about, returns Thursday.
Let's move it, people. Let's not lose them.
Two sisters face a family crisis.
If you moved in with me, there'd be more than enough time.
A nurse must make a painful choice.
You probably shouldn't be doing that.
ER, back with an all-new episode, NBC Thursday.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light will return in a moment.
It's big. It's bad. It's Roseanne and Tom, the movie.
They're gonna make me a superstar.
And it's a treat to critics everywhere. An amazing, electric, and fascinating tale. So powerful, People magazine says, you'll want to sleep with a nightlight.
I'm not gonna go away.
Roseanne and Tom, the movie, NBC Monday.
The Oregon Farm Bureau urges no on 14. 14 would cost taxpayers millions of dollars.
Measure 14 has no balance to it. It was drafted by a small group called Stop 'em. They're out to stop all modern mining.
I've studied Measure 14. It's a bad law, environmentally and economically.
Vote no on Measure 14. Don't pass a bad law.
Why are you going to use the U.S. West Direct Yellow Pages? Because you need things right now. And where will you find things? Where smart shoppers find things, right here. Just look at your choices. What brand do you want? What size? Who sells it and when are they open? How close are they? Wait a minute. What about delivery? What if you want to use U.S. West Direct to find the nearest accordion teacher at 2 a.m. in your flannels? Whatever. It's where to buy. U.S. West Direct.
There's a brand new book out for children called Shrews Can't Hoop. It's a colorful romp through the forest with a group of lovable animals who live for basketball. But they won't let a little shrew play because they think shrews can't hoop. They all learn important lessons about teamwork and self-esteem. Children who read it will too. And when you buy Shrews Can't Hoop, you'll be helping the community because all net proceeds benefit elementary school libraries in Oregon and Southwest Washington. Shrews Can't Hoop. Available exclusively in the toy or shoe department of your local Fred Meyer store.
The Repo Man faces his customers. Next, Oprah.
The golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And while the helping hands of angels can reach out to anyone, perhaps their light shines brightest on those who freely give love and support. This is a story of one woman who was always there for others. When her time of danger came, the angels were there for her. Mrs. New Velvet Washington teaches learning disabled and emotionally disturbed children in Washington, D.C. She often invokes angels to help her students achieve their full potential.
Sometimes when I get a student that's older and they can't read, if I'm going to test them that morning to see if they have learned some of the words or just going to read to me on a one-to-one, I dispatch angels to help them.
A recent family crisis brought New Velvet into personal contact with the angels. When her sister-in-law fell gravely ill, paramedics were called for, but the ambulance had no room for New Velvet, and she drove to the hospital separately.
as I was driving, I'll start to pray because I knew that she was really sick. So I started praying to save her life because she takes care of 3 grandchildren. And if something happened to her, I don't know what would happen to the children.
Full of concern for others, New Velvet was unaware that she faced mortal danger.
This car came from my left, and it was really speeding. I saw that the accident was going to happen. I said, oh God. I saw my life flash before me. I just felt that once the impact took place, that was going to be it. That's when I felt the hands. I felt these hands touch me. And then the next thing I knew, I was above the accident scene looking down. And the hands were still there. And I was just amazed at what I was looking at because I was just actually looking at the accident. I just felt that if I was in that car, I would be dead. And I said, gee, I'm looking at my life. And then I wasn't sure I wasn't already dead because I was up there looking down, so I was wondering if I was alive because I could see my body still in there.
Officer Edward Roach was the first help to arrive.
I received the call and I responded to the scene immediately. As I drove up, the scene was total chaos. Cars were strewn all over. First thing that I thought of when I pulled up on the scene was how many fatalities there were, because I've never seen one this serious before. When I walked over to New Velvet's car, I presumed that she was either dead or seriously injured.
The other drivers were gravely injured, but New Velvet was protected by angelic hands.
I felt myself descending back down into the car, and the hands lifted off me. I started feeling myself to see if I was really there. And I couldn't see too well because I didn't have my glasses. And then I started feeling the car, and it was there. And the windshield wasn't broken. And I kept looking around, and I kept feeling for, I don't know, I always thought blood is always everywhere, and I didn't see any. And that's when I realized that those hands had to be hands of angels.
This night forever changed New Velvet and her entire family. Her sister-in-law recovered, and the whole family gives thanks to the angels for averting multiple tragedy.
I believe it had not been for the angels, I know I wouldn't have had a sister today. I know I wouldn't have. But I thank God for angels. I thank God that I know about angels, that they exist.
New Velvet has always been a loving and caring person, but now there is something more.
There's a big change because there's a glow about her. You can just see it all the time. Even if she's not even smiling, she's glowing. And I just said, Velvet, you're so beautiful. You know, it's the inward beauty that's coming out now more so.
It was something else that God wanted me to do, and I hadn't done it yet. And that's why my life was spared. I just hope that I'm doing it each and every day. And I know that if I'm not, He will come to me and tell me through His angels.
The angels bring many gifts. Rescue in moments of peril, inspiration for our lives, healings of the body and soul. But the greatest gift they bring, simply said, is love. That tenderness, that
feeling of being totally heard and accepted and loved and valued is so rare. And yet the angels are so free to give that to us without any demand. There's no requirement that you need to lose 10 pounds or cut your hair and then I'll love you. Angels simply don't work like that. There's a never-ending source of acceptance and love and tenderness. It blows me away.
In Sedona, Arizona, a spiritual haven for those searching for physical as well as emotional cures, Leah Stinnett, along with her husband Doug, practiced the art of angelic healing. Long before Leah discovered she had angelic healing power, she had been in a stressful and unfulfilling career as a graphic designer. Then in 1986, she says the Archangel Michael, the chief of all angels, appeared before her.
Before my first angel encounter, I was not aware that there was even an energy in the unseen world, as we call it. I was sitting at the kitchen table. I was writing some messages and suddenly felt a different type of energy come in around me. My hand suddenly became very warm and energized. It's like someone has taken a grip around your wrist and is going to move your hand for you, but there's no physical person present. My hand wrote by itself, "I am Michael." It was a writing very different from mine, and I questioned, "Who are you? I don't know any Michael." My hand again became warm and tingly, and this time he wrote, "I am Archangel Michael." And he underlined it in a squiggly line that I'll never forget. And then he asked me to stand. He says, "I will show you who I am. Walk now down the hall to your bedroom and stand before your mirror." So a little bit reluctantly, I got out of the chair and walked down the hall to the bedroom. And as I'm looking in the mirror with my eyes fully opened, I saw this glowing blue light. It filled the entire space in front of me, and he said, "I am Michael." And together we will save the children.
Leah was overcome with emotion, yet puzzled by the angel's message. She didn't understand what he meant by, "We will save the children," until 2 years later, when the angels inspired her to begin a teaching series of classes called the Circle of Angels. During these classes, Leah feels the angels assist her in healing children going through traumatic experiences in their lives, both physical and emotional.
In the Circle of Angels, they learn to meditate. We help them to release fears, helping them study for tests, for instance, in school, or to be happy in an environment where they may be confronted with divorce. Children need something to grasp right now. They watch television, they see a lot of violence, they feel a lot of anger. School is empty to them. They have a feeling of hopelessness. The angels are messengers. They help the children realize that they are important.
Just having my kids here and teaching them this side about angels is really going to help them survive in society. And it's time. And these kids right here, this is the next generation. And it's going to change consciousness in a lot of ways.
In addition to using her angelic powers to inspire and heal children, Leah has also illustrated and written a series of books called The Little Angel Books that show children how they too can call upon the angels.
My greatest gift from the angels to humankind, to this planet, is the ability to help people recognize that we are all truly one people in one family of light.
Coming up, angels and the miracles they bring.
sugar-free gum has extra long-lasting flavor, that you know. But extra reduces the risk of cavities, that you may not know. See, after you eat, pH levels in your mouth plummet. That's when plaque acids can cause tooth decay. Chewing neutralizes those nasty acids and brings pH levels back up, helping to keep your teeth stronger. The longer you chew, the better it works. So extra means long-lasting flavor and less risk of cavities.
Hello, America! Dale Gilbert here. Welcome to the 70th birthday bash for MGM and Kleenex tissues. Oh, here they come! Right now, when you buy any 4 boxes of softer, thicker Kleenex, plus one of these marvelous movies on video, you get $5 back. Choose from The Wizard of Oz, West Side Story, Moonstruck, and more. So hurry on in, because the MGM Kleenex birthday bash is now in stores everywhere.
If you want to lose weight, here's a great way. New Dexatrim Plus vitamins. A way to help control your hunger all day so you can lose the weight, plus get the essential daily vitamins your body needs. Colette, you lost weight with Dexatrim.
I lost 11 pounds, and I feel great.
In clinical studies, people using Dexatrim lost twice as much weight as the people who didn't use Dexatrim. So start losing your weight today. New Dexatrim Plus vitamins. Lose the weight, get the vitamins.
Dear Tylenol, thank you for inventing a medicine that doesn't taste like one.
Matthew no longer cries, screams, and hides when it's time to take it.
Nothing compares to your new bubblegum flavor.
Moms tell us relieving fevers has never been easier, thanks to Children's Tylenol Bubblegum Suspension. Its unique formula coats the medicine with a richer, thicker taste, so it's easier for kids to take, and it's easier on their parents, too. Children's Tylenol Suspension, the first choice of pediatricians.
Abortion and breast cancer. Is there really a connection? This man swears there is.
You say scientists are trying to suppress evidence?
Who should you believe? Dateline Tuesday.
It's a devastating disease that strikes millions. It's called lupus. Now there's hope this killer can be stopped. A special Health Watch report. Get close, get answers on NBC Nightly News, Monday.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light will return in a moment.
Monday, The Tonight Show will become a Halloween fright show with costumes for all, the world's biggest pumpkin, a trip to Spooky World, and the scariest Halloween surprise of all. Tiny Tim gets married on The Tonight Show again. Will Matthew Broderick catch the garter? Plus this week, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Lyle Lovett, Shannon Doherty, and more join all new fun on NBC.
Tuesday at 5 on Northwest News Channel 8. Some Portland City workers seem to have a lot of time for extended coffee breaks and sleeping on the job. The problem is you're paying for it. Why is this common practice, and why are their bosses letting them get away with it? Tired of your tax dollars being wasted? Join Pat Thorse as he goes undercover to investigate. Watch your tax dollars at rest. Tuesday at 5 on Northwest News Channel 8.
I'm a criminal. My 25-year-old daughter, Jody, was in horrible pain, dying of bone cancer. She wanted to end her life. I got her the pills. We both broke the law. Measure 16 gets rid of that law. It will stop government interference in our lives, and it provides for safeguards against any kind of abuse. We should all have the right to live every minute of our lives with dignity.
A local actress in the new Roseanne movie, Monday at 7:30.
In the course of our lives, we come into contact with many people. For most, we never know if our lives have really touched theirs. But sometimes, with the help of angels, we're given the chance to share in the journey of another.
In April of this year, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, which had spread to, well, they named the places, and I thought they would never quit naming the places that were affected. And I've just learned in the last week that it's also in the liver now.
When you find a person with an ovarian tumor which has metastasized, that is to say, tumor cells are spread inside the abdomen, and in her case, inside the chest also, it's a death sentence.
Virginia faced the frightening prospect of emergency surgery. Before entering the operating room, she had a surprise visit from her angels.
So I was a little nervous, needless to say. When they wheeled me into the operating room, they put me in a holding area, and I was shaking. I had my eyes closed, and I heard this noise. I looked up, and there were two huge angels. I can't describe exactly, but I knew that they were very, very powerful. And I thought, well, I could, knowing that I could die in a minute, I could think they had come to take me to heaven. But instead, it was a feeling of they were there to protect me. So I immediately quit shaking and relaxed and went into surgery, just very calm.
Virginia did not have to wait long before her next angel contact.
They were like maybe 5 or 6, feminine, not as big as the ones I had seen before, but they lifted me up, and I thought maybe this is like what it's going to be when you die, that you leave your old, sick, heavy body behind, and you're so free and so weightless. We went to some of my relatives and to some of my friends, and they were all in bed asleep, and the angels would touch their cheek with their wings. I didn't know if we were saying goodbye to them or what, but it was such a wonderful, peaceful, happy feeling that there was nothing sad about it. If you ever wake up in the middle of the night and feel a breeze on your cheek, you've been touched by an angel.
Virginia underwent conventional medical therapy, but she was also guided by her angels to pursue alternative medical treatment. She was introduced to Myra Starr, a spiritual healer who had her own life-changing encounters with angels. Before 1989, Myra Starr was a corporate manager with no strong religious or spiritual convictions.
My dream was to have 365 outfits, so I only had to wear one at a time a year. And was known as the Terminator at one company because I went in and had a very harsh job of going in and firing people. Dealt with a lot of hard-type people. It never fazed me. I could do it without blinking an eye.
But then on November 11th, 1989, something happened that would forever change the course of Myra's life.
I was up that morning giving myself my injections for allergies, and when I gave myself the shots, I realized I was in trouble immediately.
Myra struggled upstairs to reach her husband.
Within a matter of minutes, I was in convulsions. I remember just feeling a whole lot of pain and swelling and not able to breathe. And at one point, all I wanted to be able to do was to look at him and say, I love you one last time, because I knew that there was no more breath left in me.
The gift the angels brought was the power of healing. On July 25th, 1994, Myra and Virginia met for the first time, asking their angels to guide them.
When I first started working with her, I felt her body being very weak. And then as I worked around and I touched the bottom of her feet, there was a beautiful, tall, white angel appeared at the crown of her head. And as I envisioned looked, it took and spread its wings, and they came all the way up and arched over its head, as giving its approval and understanding and go ahead for her to continue on with what she has to do here, because she has a beautiful mission, and she will be able to finish that and allow the healing to take total place within her body.
I could feel strength entering my body that I haven't felt in a long, long time, since before my illness. So it's just a wonderful feeling. I feel like I could conquer the world at this point.
3 months after her healing session with Myra, Virginia received astounding news from her doctor.
My health has improved incredibly since that time, and I've had such good reports from the doctors, and so many of the tumors have disappeared, and I just am doing so much better than anyone ever expected me to do.
I think it's truly miraculous that she is still alive, and I've been dealing with patients like this for over 30 years now. I've never seen anyone do this well 6 months later.
I was so frightened And I was so very, very sick. And my experience with the angels in the hospital helped me not to be afraid to die, but I still was afraid to live with the cancer. And I think my angels have helped me with this. I'm no longer afraid to live. I feel that it's a miracle, a very big miracle in my life, that regardless of what happens, whether I live or die, I'm no longer afraid.
Science often attempts to explain away miracles of healing as luck or coincidence or nothing more than chance. To the faithful, though, chance is simply an angel's way of performing a miracle anonymously.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light, will continue in a moment.
They're poppable and handy, the perfect bite-sized candy. For good times, they're just dandy. New Nestle Bunch of Crunch. They're crispy and they're crunchy, a chocolate-covered munchie. You love them by the bunchy. New Nestle Bunch of Crunch. Munch! Bunch! A crunch. They're quirky and they're fun, so look out, here they come. Now get your hands on some New Nestle Bunch of Crunch.
Since Wendy's announced a new chicken sandwich,
Dave's buying bacon. That old fox.
everyone's guessing about the toppings.
Me, I think Virginia ham. A little birdie told me it's going to be watercress.
It's guacamole.
What's the word? Marinara sauce. Yes. Hey, I'm the coach. I'm telling you, it's gotta be shiitake mushrooms.
Introducing Wendy's Chicken Bacon Swiss. A whole breast fillet, 3 strips of bacon Swiss, and a tangy sauce.
What's Dave gonna put on top? Honey, I don't have a clue.
I just wanted to make it delicious.
505, traffic's looking a bit heavy in the outbound lane of the bridge. Could lead to major tie-ups by the bottleneck to the expressway. Looks like everyone's heading out of town for the weekend.
Right, Bob. But for those of you staying in town this weekend, don't forget there's a Colombian Coffee Festival over on the west side. Yeah, you know, last year the family and I had our picture taken with Juan Valdez.
Oh, wait a second. Now traffic's looking heavy in the inbound lane. Looks like everyone's coming back into town. You know, I've never seen
100% Colombian coffee, the richest coffee in the world.
Hello, AT&T? This is a member of True Rewards. My husband and I love your free miles and minutes. But how about something for the kids? A vacation at Disney World, perhaps. Stuff from the Disney store is lovely.
Now, only members of AT&T True Rewards can get a world of special offers from Disney. Just spend $25 a month on AT&T long distance.
Anything Disney is fine. Not for me, for the children. Your true voice.
You know, you'd look great as a blonde. Do I know you? Nice and easy. 104. It's you.
Well, I've never colored my hair.
Oh, trust me.
See, Nice and Easy works with your hair's own tones and highlights. Look at mine. Doesn't it look natural? Mm-hmm.
Get up.
Time to rinse. She's gonna stop traffic.
It's nice and easy to be natural.
This year, Halloween starts one day sooner. With the Addams Family.
Showtime!
Good thing you're a handful.
What would Halloween be without them?
Don't torture yourself, Gomez. That's my job.
The network premiere of the Addams Family. NBC next.
Angels 2, Beyond the Light, will return in a moment.
They left Earth to find a new home and discovered we are not alone.
We were foolish to believe there was no intelligent life here.
It will take a mother's hope,
I know somehow we'll be all right here.
a father's strength,
It is about survival.
and all the courage they can find to make this planet home. Earth 2 premieres next Sunday on NBC.
They say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We haven't. So I guess you could say this is your father's Jeep. Maybe even your grandfather's. Jeep Wrangler. Oh, come by and check out our terrific new lease plan at your local Jeep and Eagle dealer. Where else?
As a geologist, I believe that there's a place for well-regulated mining in Eastern Oregon. It can provide jobs and revenue for our state. And Oregon now has the nation's toughest environmental mining regulations. But Measure 14 is a bad law. 14 would take mining decisions out of the hands of environmental regulators and throw them into an endless series of costly court battles. Please join me in voting no on 14. Don't pass a bad law.
Hi, welcome to Subway.
Subway isn't like those fancy New York steakhouses. No stuffy maitre d' or jackets required.
Great vest. Thanks.
But we do have A1 steak sauce. It's on Subway's new A1 steak and cheese. Slices of steak topped with A1, plus all the fresh fixins. And at Subway, you don't get a big bill. You get change. Subway's new A1 steak and cheese. Appetites are required, jackets aren't.
Create your own meal deal at Subway today. Get chips and a 22-ounce drink for just $1 when you purchase your favorite sub sandwich. Valid at participating locations.
It's a very special Halloween, Monday on Live with Regis and Kathy Lee.
Where does inspiration come from? Is creativity in humans a spark of the creative force that made the universe? For thousands of years, angels have inspired artists as subjects of their work. But many people now feel that angels may be a source of creativity in all areas of life. Guardian angels may not only shelter us from harm, they may protect us from an impoverishment of the spirit. Through the ages, art has helped to shape the way in which people have thought of angels. Like mankind, the angels have gone through their share of changes. They've evolved and transformed from fearsome avengers to gentle messengers. The first angels were depicted in literature and art as fierce warriors. Archangel Michael, the weigher of souls and God's #1 warrior, is said to have personally driven Satan and his dark angels out of heaven.
Originally, Christian artists did not portray angels with wings. The original angels in Christian art were wingless. Wings were added at a later date in the first few centuries of the Christian era by artists as symbols. The artists wanted to get across the idea that angels were spiritual beings that could move about very quickly. And then later artists added halos, the spiritual aura, the body of light that the angel consists of. The white robes that angels are often depicted as having are, I think, the artist's attempt to show the angel's body of light. A robe is natural to put on a figure. It's much easier to do that than to depict a shapeless globe.
But did angels directly influence the creation of these works? Could the muses of the great artists and poets have been angels themselves?
There are some cases in which people feel that the artist or the master literally possesses them in order to create a work of art. We know that Fra Angelico was one of the greatest of the Renaissance artists. I believe Fra Angelico used to pray for inspiration before he created his paintings.
But angels did not just influence painting.
It's not just art and painting that angels have inspired. Poetry, great writing. I think a lot of the great novels or stories, I think the angels have inspired. The most amazing one to me is poetry. You know, if you read William Blake, he, I guess, was considered quite insane during his time, and he wasn't popular till 100 years later. But he said that he was under the guidance of angels night and day.
Music is often said to be the language of the angels.
Our expression, the music of the spheres, comes from Pythagoras, the ancient Greek philosopher. And Pythagoras had the idea that there is a stream of divine music that runs through the universe. This kind of heavenly or divine music is one reason that angels are often depicted playing musical instruments or strumming their harps. I think it's fair to say that there's a possibility that composers of great music are inspired by this heavenly stream.
Through the works of artists, we have received many inspirational images of the angelic kingdom. In a highly mechanized world, this art has helped us to remember to stay in touch with our spiritual side.
The Victorian-era artist E.C. Burns-Jones told Oscar Wilde, "The more materialistic science becomes, the more angels I shall paint. Their wings are my protest in favor of the immortality of the soul."
For centuries, angels were depicted in art as celestial beings interacting with the famous biblical figures. But modern works now show angels as forming a more personal relationship with ordinary people, guiding us through our trials and tribulations. Artists like Arthur Douay, Nancy Bright, and Karen Martin Curry have been instrumental in creating this new way of thinking about and relating to angels.
There are many paintings of angels, but almost all of them have side views, if you look at them. There's a portrayal of Gabriel making the Annunciation to Mary. It's usually a side view. It's only a few and far between paintings of angels that will have a front view. This has to do with the change in consciousness of humanity, that we could only experience the angel side view. We couldn't take the full experience. And now humanity is beginning to be able to experience the full direct gaze.
Classical representations of angels often reflected biblical warnings about the dangers of sinning. Modern artists often focus more on creating angels that ask us to protect the environment and our fellow man.
The angels are very compassionate. The angels care a great deal about what's happening on this earth. I know there's a lot of suffering. I see it. Why do we have all these problems that are besetting us? My answer to that is that the angels are seeking to awaken us in a new way.
For Karen Martin Curry, the angels inspire her as she begins a new painting.
When I walk into my studio to paint, it's an experience that I usually don't tell many people. I begin doing the humblest of things. I scrape off the paint off my easel from the prior painting. I begin to go to the colors, and I let the colors speak because the colors are directly connected to the angels. We begin to do the work together. The images that I'm painting are experienced at the same time I'm doing it. I think that there are a lot of things that are happening on this planet this century. One of them is the development of a new art form. I think the heavens are asking us to create out of a new place. And I call this sacred creativity. We are the finest paintings of the divine. We are the sculptures of the heaven. Humanity and our development is the finest art project that has ever been.
There are people who do act as though their very lives are works of art directed by angelic inspiration.
This angel workshop. Whatever your life's about, if you decide to bring the angels into it and live more creatively, you'll find a way. And the angels will help inspire you. You might all of a sudden want to do something you never thought you could do.
Sally Sharp expresses her creativity through writing and teaching about angels. But until her own encounter with an angel, these abilities were locked inside her because of serious learning disabilities.
I always struggled with my speaking and writing. I wrote backwards, and then I had a very hard time pronouncing a lot of words. And so I was sent to speech therapists and handwriting specialists. But now that I'm pursuing a writing and speaking career, my greatest pains have turned into be my greatest joy.
It was just 3 years ago when an angel came to Sally and gave her the strength to overcome her challenges.
At that time, unexpectedly, I felt a presence and saw a white light to the right-hand side of me, and then I started receiving words by thought that came very fast, very clear, and I was led to get a notepad and a pencil. And at that time, I started just writing this message that I was receiving. And the message was the closest thing I've experienced of unconditional love. She said that her name was Celia and that she was my guardian angel and that she had been with me all my life. She told me I would be a writer and to start recording my experiences and information. And you have to understand, at this time, this was coming so fast. I was so deeply touched that I was crying with tears of joy and tears of pain at the same time.
Sally eventually left a highly successful career as a sales representative to follow a new path with a new sense of purpose.
In the beginning, I was led to just record my thoughts. And I didn't worry about how it was going to come together. I would go into this place with soft music and a candle lit and ask for whatever needed to come through, and the words would just come. And they came very lovingly, gracefully, effortlessly, and it was hard to even recognize my own work.
Later, Sally wrote and self-published 5 books, the last 2 about angels. And now she conducts seminars on how other people can enhance their creativity with angels.
And then at that time, and so when we go into this exercise, I want you all to try to just like turn a light switch on. You don't have to know what the question is, but your job, your exercise. My encounter with the angels have really changed the way I look at having my disabilities with speaking and writing. Now I can look at it from a different viewpoint and almost be grateful for the challenges and the difficulties, because now that I've overcome them, or overcame them, that it's instilled confidence in myself, and it's given me inner strength and a knowing that I can do whatever I want to do.
It's interesting to note that during man's most ambitious adventure, space exploration, 2 astronauts felt compelled to take with them the words of a man who lived his entire life in a small Midwest town. And though James Freeman never traveled into space himself, his words were quite literally heaven sent. James Freeman is one of the most beloved poets of our time. His poems have been published throughout the world, but his inspiration comes from a lifelong relationship with angels and the celestial kingdom above. 2 astronauts, Buzz Aldrin and James Irwin, took his poems with them to the moon.
It is interesting. Only 12 men have walked on the moon. 2 of them carried something I wrote. I didn't know either of them. And I've met Irwin, of course. Never have met Aldrin. But I've always felt that somehow I was meant to be connected with those moon flights. I don't know exactly why.
One of Freeman's poems, I Am There, was left on the moon by James Irwin for future space travelers to discover. It was written under extraordinary circumstances nearly 50 years ago, when James Freeman learned that his beloved wife, Catherine, was ill with cancer.
Well, I wrote I Am There out of a very, very deep need. Probably as deep a need as I ever had in my whole life. I was married, and I loved my wife. She loved me. And we'd been married for 13 years. And suddenly she told me she was ill, very ill. Would I get a doctor? And I did, and get a doctor to send her to. And I was scared. And when she went off to the doctor, I went to pray. And I started to pray when suddenly I heard a voice. Now, I'm always listening for an inner voice, but the voice was so real, so audible, so not mine and not coming out of me, that I actually turned around to see who was talking to me. And the voice simply said, "Do you need me? I am there." I was startled. And as I went on praying then, the voice began to say more to me. But I had an envelope in my pocket, and finally I thought, hey, I better write this down, because I wanted to give it to my wife. Catherine really was the most important thing that ever happened to me in my life. Finding that woman and somehow being lucky enough to have her love me, because she loved me. I've always thought maybe Catherine was an angel.
Catherine was rushed into emergency surgery, but the doctors were unable to remove the cancer.
And then he told me that the operation had been futile and that there was no hope for her whatever. Then I went to her room and thought, I don't dare go in, But suddenly I heard her call, "Jim, Jim." And as I went into that room, I lay down by her and put my arms around her, and it was awful. That awful sense I had of, oh gosh, this unbelievably horrible thing has happened to us. But as we lay there, suddenly, I had a sense in the midst of all this agony that something had entered the room and was surrounding us. I felt its arms almost. But I've always said I felt as if it were like clouds or wings, and it held us. And she had the same sense. She told me too, she was feeling what I felt. And it was a sense, again, of a presence.
After Catherine died, James was moved to write about the experience.
We lay close to one another. And an angel came with its wings, put out the flame, and caught us up from hell, and wrapped us round with a wild tenderness I have not found again. We clung close as to love's own breast, love's heart, and in our torment were at rest. You cannot wake in hell without bestirring heaven, but let demons out, and you start flights of angels. This is so, although why it should be, I do not know. And I've always believed that, because it was such a strong sense that with all this agony around me and ugliness of death, suddenly I had that sense, that strong sense that you suddenly, in response to that, came flights of angels. Do you need me? I am there. You cannot see me, yet I am the light you see by. You cannot hear me, yet I speak through your voice. You cannot feel me, yet I am the power at work in your hands. Though you fail to find me, I do not fail you. Though your faith in me is unsure, my faith in you never wavers, because I know you, because I love you. Beloved, I am there.
Look, green.
Is that good?
Yeah, it means go. Enjoy that great chocolate taste.
Oh.
Red.
Wait, doesn't red mean stop?
Yeah. Stop asking questions.
Yeah, stop asking questions. Well, sorry. Well, you're asking those questions again.
Shaping that's natural, not a look that's flattering, not. Today's Cross Your Heart bras with the crisscross design that supports for a natural shape. The Cross Your Heart bra from Playtex.
You want to be more comfortable on your light flow days.
You bet.
Instead of always choosing these, lighten up with new Tampax Lights tampons.
Now that's new.
New Tampax Lights are the only tampon with an absorbency designed exclusively for your light flow days.
So they're really comfortable to use.
Why always choose these when you can be more comfortable? Look for a coupon for new Tampax Lights tampons in this Sunday's paper. Trust is Tampax.
The greatest gangster that ever lived.
Did you think you could steal from me?
Whose vision created Las Vegas.
I'm talking about a palace, an oasis.
Whose affair was as passionate as it was dangerous.
Use your imagination.
I'm using it.
Warren Beatty, Annette Bening.
Take a punch.
Nominated for 10 Oscars. Bugsy, Friday at 8, 7 Central on NBC.
Millions of people owe their success to one person, a teacher who inspired them. To teachers everywhere, thanks.
We have debated the existence of angels for thousands of years. We keep thinking, if we build a bigger telescope, we may see them. If we conduct the right experiment, we may somehow prove their existence. It is a noble pursuit, this search for angels. But we may be looking in the wrong places. The indisputable evidence is in the lives of our families and friends who find the courage to face us and say yes. Their life has been changed, has been touched by this power we call angels. There need not be a rush of wings or a blinding flash of light. It is enough that where there was once pain, there is now hope. Where there had been suffering, healing has come. Where there was mistrust and anger, there is now love. These are the footprints of the angels. Thank you for watching.
To order a video cassette copy of tonight's special, call 1-800-304-ANGEL. The charge is $24.95 plus $4.95 shipping and handling.
You've been watching Angels 2, Beyond the Light. Next Sunday, the world premiere of Earth 2. The Earth's children are dying. Their only hope lies in one woman's quest to find a new home.
I'm a mother. I have a sick child. No syndrome child has lived beyond 9 years.